Welcome, everybody. Hope you're all out there. I hope you're all surviving this lockdown. We've got another hour for you today on the SGH Sports Events page. We are live on Facebook. We've got some great guests today. But first things first, we've got to go through our sponsor today is Mark Cooper. Thank you, Mark. We can, from the Isle of Man, he's kindly sponsored the event today for us. All this money, as I say, is going to the NHS. We've also got our Tiger Woods flag, which is going to be drawn today as well. That will be drawn pretty much at the end of the show today. We might have a special guest to help us with that one. It's the 06 Open flag. It's £10 entry. You can still get there. Get onto the SGH page. You'll be able to find the link. All the proceeds to that is going to the NHS. We try to raise as much money as we possibly can, and every penny will go to the NHS. And thanks for Lawrence Wells for that one. So we've also got our streaming provider today, which is Simply Video. Thank you, guys, as always. I know they're in the background and listening and watching the show as well. So first things first, we've got our guests. We've got the number one. We've got Simon Hurd. How are you doing, Hurdy?
Yeah, good. Yeah, I was on toilet duty this morning. My wife had me cleaning two of the kids, not two of the kids, two toilets. So that was good on my hands and knees. But yeah, I'm good. All good. All good.
So in other words, you can't wait to get back to work.
Oh, yes.
We've also got Howard Clark with us today. Clark is coming instead of Linny today. Linny's still struggling with his KC internet. He's got out in Hull, the road to nowhere. Clarky, how you doing? You okay?
Yeah, great. All good here from North Yorkshire. Very nice. And thanks to Sky, we've got some internet, hopefully.
Well, let's hope it lasts for us today. We've also got Team Willett with us today. So we've got Sam, which is his caddy, and we've also got Muffy as well, as we all know him. That's what I'm going to call him all the way through. We all know him as that. Sam and Muffy, welcome. Muffy, to start with, thanks for joining us and coming to join. You're the manager for Danny. I'm going to start with you, Muffy, to be fair. You are the manager for Team Willett. How did that come about to start with, mate? How did you become, Danny's manager, looking after the whole of his tournament procedures, everything, which goes, the whole thing. How did that come about, mate?
I sort of worked on the European tour for sort of 13 years in travel. My uncle owned a travel company that was sort of in charge of doing all that. So I got out on tour quite early. Got to know a lot of the lads, and then I did that for 13 years. As I say, got headhunted, if you like, by Chubby. He offered me a job at ISM and started working there. Did that for sort of 3.5 years, and I was pally with Dan before anyway, because Yorkshire boys all stick together. So when we were on tour, we were sort of, you'd always sort of sway to going for dinner with the Yorkshire boys and whatnot. So just got into it that way really, and then and me and Dan were friends. We kind of got pally around that time. I've got 4-year-old twins. Zach was born a month after my twins. So it kind of, our wives are friends as a result, and we've lived that lovely nightmare of going through children and the joys of that together. So then, and in 2017, at the end of 2017, we sort of decided that we'd go alone and do something together. So so that's how it sort of came about, and
and we've talked about people's memorabilia in the show coming back. We can see behind you there, Muffy. We've got a great bit of memorabilia right behind you. Talk us through that one.
Yeah, well, that's my my Masters 2016. Danny's actual, the flag obviously he signed, but then the ticket for every day that I was there.
Fantastic.
Yeah, it's a good piece of kit. The boys at Matrix Framing do a good job. So it's a bit of a Masters shrine, is this room, but I don't really want to show you. It's a bit embarrassing. People think I've got an obsession with Danny or something.
Yeah, an unhealthy obsession with the Masters champion. And Sam, looking at yourself, you're really good friends with Danny as well. How did it come about? I know you've been on tour beforehand, being a caddy. How did it come about with yourself and Danny for you to become his caddy?
Well, what this time round, or what from the start?
Well, just generally from the start, mate.
Well, tell us
we've had three stints together, me and Dan. But I mean, it started. We would be playing. We were members at the same golf club, and we would play the English Amateur together. And I would get knocked out in the first round, and just stay down and caddy. So he won a couple of events when I stayed down on caddy from English Amateur one year and something else, and then. When he turned pro, he just asked me if I wanted to try giving caddying a go. And to be honest, we're fed up playing anyway. I think I was working at Pete Cowan's range at the time, so I thought I'd give it a go. And then, this time round now, I was working for David Lipsky at the time, and Dan was obviously struggling so much. He asked me to work 1 week at Sawgrass. I think it was 2.5 years ago now, and. Yeah, he was struggling. He just needed a bit of a pal at the time. There weren't really much he could do. He was going through a process of changing things, and it was going to take a little while. So, me, whoever on the bag, it didn't really matter. He just needed someone to chat to and go through that. So with me, I owe a lot to Dan for caddying because I sort of fast tracked, didn't have to go through Challenge Tour. Stuff like that, really, and obviously we know how classy he is at golf. It was going to come back eventually, so it was a pretty easy decision. It was just going to be a tough couple of months to start, really.
And do you see a difference with Danny from the first time you were in to the second time you've got in, or this period of time which you've been in from the first time when you started caddying for him?
It's a bit easier now because when we were younger, I mean. We were both single back then, and he had like an house. It was like a frat house. There were 4 or 5 lads in, so we were in each other's pocket basically back then. We'd go to golf tournaments, we'd room together, we'd come back, we'd go out on the jolly together with all lads. It was just a bit too much. So every now and again, you can get a bit of friction in your relationships. Whereas now, we're still best mates, but he's got his family, which one of them's my godchild. See him as much as I can, but it just keeps it a bit fresher at work, so it allows us to have that personal and business relationship. Whereas at first it was just a bit too much, really. So yeah, it's
a bit of a jolly up. Is that what we're saying?
You know what? It was just constant, basically. Yeah, we'd come back and we'd be out 4 or 5 times a week and stuff. So I couldn't turn around and not see him, basically.
And you're not bad at golf as well. The Masters. It's kind of renowned now that you shot 1 up 73, I think it was yourself.
Yes,
it's out there. Danny beat you by 1. Tell us about that, because everybody wants to play the Masters course. Everybody, I think Hurdy, you were supposed to be playing the Masters course this year, I think, weren't you?
Yeah.
Oh, were you?
A few times, a few options, but I'll do it one day. But I wouldn't have shot 73, that is for sure. But carry on, bud. I shot 65.
Sam, talk us about that. Talk us about 72 and 73. You're the caddy, and it has come kind of out there now. Everybody's seen it, and the scorecards and everything else. And you bogeyed the last as well. I've looked this morning.
Bogeyed the first and the last. It were so when I knew I was going to play, I don't really play much anymore, but I hate practicing and then practice. But when Dan said I was going to play, I knew about 6 months. Well, I knew ages in advance, but I got a bit of practicing. I thought I'm really going to try and shoot a good score. I was really dialed in to try and have a good. I'm going to have one go at it. I didn't want to shoot millions. And Dan's super competitive, but he knows that place like the back of his hand. So he were almost caddying for me around there, as well as having a local guy who would give me loads of good advice. I mean, it was one of those days. It were perfect conditions. There were no wind. And I just played really well, to be honest. I mean, it's one of those courses, in all honesty, if you drive it all right and the pins aren't in horrendous positions, you can have a good chance. If you just two-putt, you've got to two-putt your way around because there's some really smelly putts. But, I mean, I got off the first tee. I hit a great drive down 1, and then I was so nervous. I hit the most horrendous 9 and I made a shocking bogey there as well. But, I mean, in fairness, Dan were trying, but he were more trying to get me around than he would score. Once he knew I had a look, he would try and throw me around really.
And coming in there,
it was a perfect day. It was a perfect day for golf. It was unbelievable.
There was no wind. There were no one out on course. No wind. It was bottom.
The funniest part, though, was when we walked round onto the first tee and there was a load of spectators there, and Sam just dropped.
Look, weren't it?
Who were all these people? What are these people doing? Who are these people? What are they here for?
Dan promised you there'd be nobody around, and then there were 300 people around for first tee ready for watching the drive, chip and putt, and then Dan teeing off. I couldn't believe it.
And obviously, you made the bogey on the first as well. Muffy, did you walk round with them as well?
Yeah, I walked round. Yeah, I was the walking guest. So Dan took us in the morning. We rocked up, and he took us in the champions locker room for breakfast. And then, yeah, obviously, it's the first time I'd actually walked inside the ropes there. Yeah, it's pretty perfect. There's not many better walks in golf, I don't think.
No, it's a special
pretty
walk.
Special. And it's weird, it's surreal because on that Sunday there's no spectators allowed, on the actual golf course. So you're just walking around and there's literally nobody about.
No,
there's just you and your playing partners.
1, 9, and 10 and 18. That's the only areas you see people in it.
Yeah.
It's,
and you say the champions locker. What was that like?
Yeah, it's pretty special. There's obviously. Well, it's a very elite group, isn't it? So, you go in and obviously they know Danny, and Danny knows the guys that work in there. So they ask him if he wants to put his jacket on, which he obviously does. And then, he just sat there, and there's people like Adam Scott and Gary Player, people like that coming in. It's very, very surreal. Very surreal.
He shared we were, was he, didn't he, Dan?
Was he? Yeah, was he?
Muffy, when you arrive to the Masters, when you go up Magnolia Knives, the Masters Championship put it on because is it in the Champions locker they do that?
It's in the locker room. You broke up a little bit there. Did you say what did they do with the jacket?
Yeah, no. When you arrived, did they ask, like you said, did they ask him to wear it? But is it as he arrives onto the premises, or
no? It's when he actually gets into the locker room. He walks upstairs, and then because it's a separate area, because obviously the main locker room's downstairs, but the champions one's upstairs, and that's then when they say, "Hey, Mr. Willett, would you like to try your jacket on?"
Do I?
He might have shaved a few pounds, I think, that year. So
have you tried it on?
He might have lost a few pounds in stress. So
have
he might try
not
a different size.
I'll have to try it on now. Good answer.
So nobody else is allowed to try it on. That's it. It's just Danny's, and that's the only thing.
Well, I've certainly not for it anyway. I know that.
Yeah, he once when he'd actually won it, I was at his house, and I remember it was just like on the banister. He just hung it on the banister, over the banister.
Like you do.
At his house, I'm like, his green jacket just sat there, but I've not.
You'll run away.
I've not tried it on. I know that much. Yeah, do a runner with it and get it on eBay.
Brilliant.
Yeah, I think you get a few quid for that.
Yeah,
you might do.
Howard, you played in it and also commentated for Sky for many years there. From the year you played in it to the last year you were there, you must have seen it change a lot. I've been 11 years now, so I've seen it. Me and Muffy have been going a long time, and we've kind of seen it change over the years. But from you playing in it, as in from the hospitality side, from the how it works, I mean, what's it changed from kind of the year you played it to the last year you worked at the event with Sky?
It's become more scary, to be honest. When I first played there in the mid '80s, it was a situation which was absolutely brand new to me. I'd been in the game for 10, 11 years, and it was a very lovely experience all the way through. They gave you a car, you went and stayed in a house, that you rented through somebody. And once you got to the course, you parked in the players' parking lot, wandered through to the course, but you saw the back of the front of the clubhouse, which was magnificent. And it was only when you got out the other side that you realised there was a golf course there, because you couldn't see the course. There was a practice hole or two and all that type of thing. But the real course was the other side of the clubhouse. But the first day you got there, you couldn't wait to get out on the course. But the second day was a bit different. You started to explore a little bit and find out what was around the clubhouse and what was here and what was there. It went so quickly; it was ridiculous. I remember when I actually qualified for the Masters. I'd qualified. Well, I'd been third in the order of merit twice. I think in '84 and '86, and I didn't receive an invitation to the Masters. And the first time was quite amazing because I got the real story from a journalist called Michael McDonnell. And Michael McDonnell was sitting in on the invitations rundown from the committee. And the question was asked, why isn't Howard Clark playing? This was for 85, because I'd been the PGA champion in 84. I'd finished third in the Order of Merit, and I didn't get an invite. And they said, well, yes, Clark, yes, we see his name. And they looked at a piece of paper and they said, yes, he's had a spotty career and really cannot justify a spot in the championship, in the invitation this week, due to the fact that he needs to have more consistency. And, that came as news to everybody because they thought spotty career, and it didn't quite add up. But when Michael McDonnell actually delved a little bit deeper, they'd mistaken my name for Clive Clark. They thought I was Clive Clark. How good is that? And eventually, long stories and all this type of thing. But eventually, I got there, and I went onto the range. I tried to get my caddy Wobbly at the time, Philip Morby from out at Solby Way. I tried to get him on the course. They wouldn't allow him on the course on the Saturday. Wow. I mean, I wanted to get there and have 26 practice rounds, because I'd seen the course so many times and I just wanted to play it. And they wouldn't let him go around. I had to take one of the local caddies, a black caddy who'd caddied for many Masters players in his time, and he knew the course fantastically well. He really was the business. And we went around the course, and it was quite surreal. But it all went past me so quickly. By the time I knew it, it was Thursday. But I must tell you this, one practice round I had with Wobbly, we went out on the Monday. I'd already played 2.5 rounds by that time. And we went up the first hole, and this buggy appeared from the right-hand trees, drove across towards us, and just sat back about 20, 25 yards away. Wobbly said, "Oh, it's probably the FBI. Are you wanted here?" And I said, "No, I don't think I've done anything wrong so far." I said, "How about you?" He says,
I'm going to say.
Well, he says, I was with a few caddies last night, and there were a problem with an open container. There was an open container in the car, and of course that's an offence. He says, maybe it's the FBI. So anyway, we hit our second shot to the first, which was a 4-iron. Thanks, Sam. 9-iron yourself. Thank you very much. So I dropped in a 4-iron to the first. And how, when you think about it, how difficult a hole is it when you've got to hit a 4-iron in there?
Crazy green to hit a 4-iron into.
Unbelievable. And you've got to hit it in a position where it can't be more than 10 feet square to get to the pin. So I hit the second shot, and I hit it onto the front part of the green. And this guy drove across, and he introduced himself. He says, "Hello, good morning." He says, "How are you doing?" I said, "I'm fine, thank you." I said, "My name's Howard Clark." He says, "Yes, Hord Harding." I said, "Oh, nice to meet you, Mr. Harding." I said, "Very nice to meet you after all this time. I've heard a lot about you." Well, he was the one that turned my invitation down and thought I was Clive Clark 3 years earlier. So I didn't think it was the best time to start saying, you remember me? Anyway, he drove off after the second hole. We putted a couple of times, but the one thing that sticks in my mind so much was the greenkeepers out on the course, and they had a massive brush. It must have been a metre-wide brush, very fine, thick brush, and they was brushing the green against the grain, and then they were cutting it straight after. What they wanted was the grain to stand upright, and then they could just chop it down. And it looked like soil that they cut to. They got a little bit of growth in them, but my God, they were so fast. Yeah. We couldn't believe how fast they were, and that was the most frightening part. Thinking, well, this puts a different perspective on. Get on the green by all means, but it's got to be in the right portion, right part of the green. Otherwise, it's 3-putt city every hole.
Yeah.
You said they were a bit slower when you played, Sam, didn't you?
Yeah, the 18th was normal speed apparently because of the drive, chip and putt. So I played all the way around, and then I had to put on 18. It was only like a 10-footer uphill, and I had 3 foot left. I nuked it straight past. It was completely different. But yeah, but I mean, I had a birdie put on the par 3-6. Howard will know that. Well, everyone will know if you've watched Augusta. But the pin was back left on the little shelf, and I hit it on the right-hand section, which is absolutely dead. You can't physically get to the back section. So I tried to put to the pin and came all the way back down near the bunker on the front of the green. It was just absolute carnage.
Wow.
Going back to what Simon said, the two things that I noticed the big difference was playing in it is one thing. You're pampered, you're looked after, you get all the run of the mill, if you like, the run of the place. You can walk anywhere, go anywhere you like. But when I worked for TV for Sky, we were sitting back left of the 10th hole, down in by the little par 3 course, and lovely spot, but the fear of God was in us then, because when mobile phones were introduced in the mid-'80s, that then made Augusta start thinking, okay, once they became really mobile and in your pocket, then they started to block all these things. So they banned everybody with mobile phones. Yeah. And if you actually had one in your pocket and it was switched off and they caught you with it, they would ban you. You wouldn't get back in again.
Still the same.
There's a jib cam. I don't know if you boys saw it. The jib cam. It's usually around the clubhouse near the big oak tree, and they use this jib cam to show aerial photographs or little picturesque photographs of the putting green and down to the area where the members have tea and the golfers come in and they meet with wives and family and they go and sit down, have a drink, and then wander to the practice ground. But this jib cam broke down one day, and the guy who was running the jib cam had been working for CBS for 20-something years, and he actually used his mobile phone to contact, because he didn't have a radio contact, he had to use his mobile phone to contact CBS in the main TV place. Green jacket came up, sorry sir, we'll have your credentials, tore the credentials up, and escorted him from the property immediately. Wow. He says, who's going to run the jib cam? He says, that's none of my concern, young man. You're out of here. And he wouldn't let him back in.
I've got a good one. I've got a good story about that. In 2016, when obviously the year Danny won, I was there. I wasn't like in a working capacity because it's obviously difficult to get badges and things like that. But Matt Fitz wanted me to go along with him because I'd basically travelled with Matt from when he was an amateur, from turning amateur to pro. Sorry, I travelled to every event with him. We went to Challenge Tour, all the way up to obviously winning at the British Masters, and then getting into the Masters that following year. So Matt said, "I want you to come with me." So he gave me a ticket. So Chubby basically said, "You can come, but you're not going to be working. You're basically there on a jolly." So I kind of took that opportunity to make sure I had plenty of beers and enjoyed the trip. But obviously it's Cheltenham week, isn't it? The week of the Masters, and Ted is now Matt Fitz's manager. Me and Ted were basically watching Fitzy on the range, and there was nobody else about. So there's just Fitzy on the end of the range. Me and Ted sat in the little grandstand behind watching, and Ted says, "Oh, the first race is off. Let's. Can you have a see? Check what the results were, because he'd had some bets on." And I pulled the phone out of the pocket because I was allowed to carry one in because we were going in with the players, and came over and said, "Oh, are you on your mobile phone there?" I was like, "No." And he went, "I think I can see you were quite clearly on your mobile phone." I went, "Yeah." And he went, "I'm going to have to escort you off the premises."
Oh my God.
No, he go like you thought, like you said, Howard. And I pulled out because Matt had given me the courtesy car, obviously the car, the tournament car. I pulled out the key. I said, "Well, I've got to go to the car park." And he was like, "Oh, right. Are you here with?" And I said, "Yeah." I said, "We're with Matt." I said, "I'm actually manager." And he was like, he kind of like saw a bit of. He let me off really, but he said, "Well, you're gonna have to wait." I just turned off and sat in the car like a novice.
Very lucky boy.
When you go in there for the first time, you've all been there, and this is like something which I, as a fan, I'm going to go to you, Hurdy, first on this one, then Clarkie and so on, and all the boys, really. When you first walk in there, are you just full of nerves? You go down Magnolia Lane, you're going in, and even as a spectator, Hurdy, the first time you go in there, are you really nervous at that point?
So I've been a bit like I've had certain different tickets. So every person now, the new entrance is round the other side, and you don't go down Magnolia anymore. Probably over the last 25 years, they've changed the entrance. So I've been in with players. My first time I went, I never wanted to go to the tournament because as a kid you want to play it, and I stopped playing. And Poulter invited me, so I've been in down Magnolia the first time I ever went. But when you go where the other people enter, you don't really see any of that until you're allowed a picture around the front of the clubhouse. But just to walk, like Howard said, when you walk through to the other side of the clubhouse and see this expanse of green, it's just like. And then I teared up because I was lucky enough the first time I went, I got in the clubhouse and did all these amazing things, and it's just phenomenal. I mean, you go down to round Amen Con, you stand on the par 3, and you just remember, as we've all done as a kid, watching Woozy win, Sandy at the shot out of the bunker, all these amazing things, and you stand there and think, this has just got so much history, and it's just for me. I mean, I haven't been in the last 2 or 3 years, but it's one of them things when you walk the other side of the clubhouse, and it's just amazing. It really is amazing. It's one of them trips that everyone must go on with our company.
You had to throw that one in there, didn't you? You can see where I was going with that question, couldn't you?
Yeah, now crack on. And
Sam, for you, going in as a caddy and the first time what's your abiding memory of the first time you went into there? Was it a fear? Was it a nervousness? Was it an excitement? But how did you feel?
Well, when I went in 16, when Dan won, we were there on a piss up. He's just had his first child, and me and six lads went in to go and have a watch. So, in a way, I was fortunate. I got the nerves out of the way before caddying. I got my bearings and stuff like that. But what I couldn't believe is I'd watched it for years on TV, but as I got through round onto the first green, and I was there on a Sunday, I think, or Monday. There weren't many spectators. You don't really you can't believe how big an area it is. When there's no crowds there, because everything is defined by crowds on TV, and then there's just this massive amount of space by the first. And I was a bit taken back by it. I couldn't believe it really, but it's like Disneyland for kids when you go for the first time. It was just massively excited, and all my pals were there. So sneaky hilly. Couldn't believe how hilly it were when I went there for the first time. It's a right old hike.
So it's a tough gig for a caddy then that week anyhow, generally because of.
It's a fair old walk. Like when I got there and caddied the first time at Bag on Bag, about going up that first hole. If you think because you think it's flat on the first hole, but you go down and straight back up again. It's flat from tee box, but getting there you've got to go down and up basically. So, but yeah, just a special place.
So you say you were there on a piss-up on 2016. Well, I'm imagining you were the whole of 2016 were on a piss-up. Talk us through a little bit. Muffy's in there as well with it. But, Sam, talk us a little bit about the after party, Danny winning, coming through, just tell us your experience of that, being one of his best mates as well.
Well, one of the funniest things about it was I remember I'd forgot to pack trainers that week to walk around course. So all I've got is going out shoes and stuff like that. And my mate Big Jason, who everyone can testify is a big guy, he had a spare pair of red Sambas. And they were about a size or two big. I've got big feet. They were a size too big. And I had to wear them all week. Now, when Dan won, he were frantically getting everyone into clubhouse after to enjoy this. No one had a change of clothes. We were all pissed up. Anyway, and all these people wearing green jackets, around in this formal party, and I saunter into the clubhouse with, air bike backwards, pissed up with these red Sambas that were too big for me.
Brilliant.
And Big Jace was wearing a red shirt and yellow shorts. I mean, you couldn't write it. Everyone was looking at us thinking, who's this lot that Danny's brought in with, kind of thing. So we had a good few drinks there, and then it went back to after party at the ISM house, and then back to the house that we were all staying at. It lasted for a good amount of time. I mean, we were drinking all the way around on the golf course anyway, but I had to push through for Dan when he could manage a couple of drinks.
And at that point as well, you as one of his best mates as well, must have been so proud of him as well in that sense. You know, what was the first thing you said to him when you saw him?
Well, it's the same thing with Smarty as well. I mean, me, him and Smarty were all really close and stuff. So it was like, it was just awesome for them both, really. It was more surreal. I remember saying to him, I think I looked him then in the eye and went, I cannot believe you just won the Masters. It's just bonkers. It were bonkers, really. I mean, I didn't really realise, because I'd never known anyone close to me that had won a major. I didn't realise that. I knew it was a big deal, but you don't realise quite how life-changing it was, really, for him. You know, as soon as he got back to his house at Lindrick, you know, I think there were press everywhere and stuff like that. I mean, I had to go away and work, but he were ringing me and telling me what was going off. But
you had to get bodyguards.
Yeah, just
you had to basically get security to sit outside the house. Sorry about that. My audio went, boys, so I just had to log out and log back in.
No problems.
But yeah, they had to get like security to sit on the gate to his house, because there were press like hiding in trees and all sorts of bizarre. It was just mental. Yeah. It was mental. And we did a media day at Lindrick, probably 2 days after he got home, and it was carnage. Honestly, there were people everywhere. There was obviously people trying to get flags signed and bits like that at Lindrick, and then journalists and all. It was just honestly, it was bonkers. And then I think the first event back, we went to the Players, and that it was kind of then you realise, like Sam says, you don't really you do know it's a massive deal to win a major, but for that, you know, for winning the Masters, obviously it's just huge. And in America, it's you don't realise how big it is until you get over there, and the amount of yellow flags that were coming out from the Players, there were people jumping out of bushes with them, I'm sure. It was just, honestly, and it was madness. It was absolute madness. But you don't really, you know, you don't appreciate. You do, but you don't really appreciate, you know, how big until you're in America, really.
And Muffy, you being his manager as well, you know, it must be a dream. You know, what changed for you? You know, managing somebody who's just won a major. How did that work for yourself?
Well, obviously, there's just a lot more pressure. There's a lot more pressure for media requests and making sure that, you know, it's everything, isn't it? You've got to make sure, obviously, that he doesn't stick to all his commits and bits like that, which is difficult. Yeah, I mean, it's obviously great because you're in a better position to negotiate a lot of things. I mean, obviously, Chubby was really his manager at the time. I was working under Chubby, but you know, Danny obviously played a lot more than he really wanted, because you get in, you know, places that you probably weren't going to be including your schedule because you got the green jacket. They want you to go back. So yeah, it was a bit mental, and I think that probably was the start of when he started to his decline, because he probably played well. He did overplay. He's admitted that, and his body then, you know, sort of crumbled away as a result of it, really. Yeah, it was what it is. It's a learning curve.
Yeah, absolutely. What we do generally all day, all week, we've been doing is a quiz. So I'm going to bring Hurdy in now for his special quiz. You've got some you've got some good scores to beat, to be fair, this week. But I'll pass you over to Hurdy for you boys to answer some questions.
There we go. So as a lot of people probably don't know, but I know very well, Muffy's from Keighley. Plays his golf over that way. Is it where do you play your golf, Muffler?
Branshaw,
that's right, yeah. So in the mornings, I kind of look up where the person's born, and I type into Google the area, and I typed in Keighley things to do, and it said there's nothing to do in Keighley. So I'm like, oh my God. So I thought that was a bit harsh. But my first question to you, mate, is there's a well-known waterfall in Keighley area. What is it called?
Bronte Waterfalls.
There we go, Bronte Waterfalls. 1 out of 1. Answer correct.
Come on.
What is Keighley Cougars Rugby League Stadium called?
Oh, he's going to know
Cougar
this.
Park.
Cougar Park. Well, I knew he would. I'm trying to make him look good, aren't
I used to be a ball boy for him.
I know. Here you go then. Here we go. 100,000. What's the capacity?
6,000, I think.
No, 7,800. But it wasn't the question, so I'll give you 1 out of 1. Don't worry. But it was 7,800. The average about 30. It says.
Yeah. Yeah. If you like
they could play in your garden. It says muffled. Anyway, Which current Super League coach was also the head coach of Keighley Cougars back in the day? Current.
Powell. I'm looking at this. This is my barrow.
I know, there you go. That's why I'm trying my best for you. I'm after that Monday ticket I need for Masters. Right, what next question? This one, for me, I'll never deal with this company ever again, but I'm going to use the word shitty. Which shitty golf magazine did an article with Danny's brother, which for me spoilt Danny's Ryder Cup experience. What's the name of the company? Which golf magazine was it?
National Club Golfer?
Yeah, and we won't mention the name again. Correct. Well done. That's very good.
We'll blank that bit out.
Yeah, that's fine. We got it right anyway. That's good. Yeah, exactly. Right, and the last question. What year did Danny win the English Amateur Championship?
Oh, God.
My word. Even I don't know.
I should know that, shouldn't I? 2009?
2009 is absolutely wrong. Unlucky.
What was it?
2007.
7, yeah.
Slammer were there. He was down there doing this thing like I used to
Slammer
do.
would have got that.
He'd have been caddying after the first round knockoff. Slammer, you ready? We won't go into Sheffield because we know you're not really a big fan of Sheffield United, but kind of a fan. But anyway, how many wins has Danny had on the European Tour?
We just count this up quickly.
Thankfully, like Howard, you'd have to take your shoes and socks off for Howard.
No,
but
I'll take a stab. Is it 7?
7 is absolutely right. Well done, mate. What dessert did Danny choose when he did his Masters winning meal?
I had it as well. I'm sure it was crumble and custard.
Crumble and custard is correct. Well done.
Yummy. Very nice.
Right. Within the million, how much has Danny won on the European Tour in his career? You're allowed
within
to get
the million.
What? If you get it within a million, how much has he won?
I'll take a stab at. What's he 14?
He has won 16.5. You're not managing his money well, Muffler.
Muffler's got his 10%.
Yeah, exactly.
Are we talking in sterling or dollars though?
No, that was euros. The European Tour. That was euros. It says.
Euros, right there you go. Then.
Yeah, all right. Yeah, you still can't get away with that. You still got. He's going to put dollars on right at the dollar at 1.3. Right. Who has had top tens on the PGA Tour this year?
Sorry.
Slammer. Who has had the most top tens on the PGA Tour this year?
What, this one that we're currently on?
Yes, they've only played 10 or 11 events. Who's had the most?
You know, I'm going to go take a real wild stab at Joaquin Neiman, just in case.
It is. He's had 6 top tens, and it's Rory McIlroy.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, he's played all right, hasn't he?
Yeah.
Right, then a question at 2016. I was lucky enough to walk them last 3 holes with you, and just talking about that before, we just asked you this question. I remember walking the last 3 holes with you and the big lad, and I mean, I remember that shirt you were wearing that last day as well. You talk about your shoes. I think he had some outstanding shirt on. He was like, every TV shot you could see him. You mate, what were the big lad? What's he called? I know him well as. What's he called?
Big J's.
Yeah.
Big J. I mean, I think he had an orange. What, do you have a hat on or something?
Hat on as well, didn't
he? Yeah, he looked like paraffin. He looked like a right paraffin anyway. to watch the last 3 holes with you, I remember the emotion of all of you and how excited he was, because he's a big lad and he was getting redder and redder. I thought he would explode, to be fair. Last question. That week we had an amazing finish with English players. There were 3 other English players in the top 9. Who were there?
Fitzy was one.
Yeah.
I'll take a stab with Rosie, because he normally does well around there. No, Westy were one for definite.
Yeah.
So Fitzy, Westy, and one more.
Yeah. Top
Casey.
9. Casey is correct. Very good. One. I'm going to give you I'm going to give you 4 out of you. A friendly draw there. You got a couple wrong, and that was pretty good, lads. Muffler, I gave you easy ones with rugby there, didn't I, mate?
Yeah, but you didn't realise that I played amateur rugby for 20 years.
I knew you played rugby. That's why I did it, because I've
Keith Coogan's questions were perfect for me.
Yeah, you didn't get whacked on that nose much. You still got a decent nose, so you're all right.
Not enough. That's why I finished playing.
Thanks, boys. That was brilliant.
Cheers, Hurdy.
Yes,
Hurdy, going back to that 2016, after Danny had won, we went back to ISM House, and he was doing all his media and bits. It took a long time. The lads went in, getting as much free crystal as they could basically steal from Augusta. But I went back to the house, and Danny had ordered a load of wine, and we were all drinking and celebrating and having a good time. But I'd been staying with Fitzy all week, and he went off to Hilton Head on Sunday night, and I ended up getting like extremely drunk, as you would do, and I ended up I was staying in a different house that night, but I didn't move into the house until literally we went back, and I was absolutely left-handed really, and and I woke up on the Monday morning because I was getting a lift to the airport, and I woke up in a room in a house I'd never been in. In a room, I didn't have a clue what was going on. Lots of people I'd never seen in my life. It was, and then I actually won the Masters. Or if I just dreamt it.
well, to be fair, Muffy, we've had quite a few people on this last couple of weeks, and your name's been mentioned twice now. We have a question at the end. Who is?
Sorry, Cuddy, can I just jump in? I've got a few quick Q&As here. Sorry, mate. Is that all right?
Haven't you there, AJ?
Yeah,
the missus did it yesterday, actually. Look at those trimmers.
Jeez, that forehead is unbelievable. Now it's like mine.
I'm a word, Ernie.
AJ just saved me there from getting my name tarnished.
No, to be fair, you're gonna get it tarnished later on, Muffy. So I'll let AJ come in with some questions from the social media.
I've got to tell you, some of those stories around Masters and in particular sort of mobile phones and camera devices. I remember last year, I think they did the first ever ladies tournament, didn't they, Hurdy? And it was the final was on a Sunday. So I thought it'd be an absolutely amazing opportunity to go into Augusta with a camera on a tournament day and get loads of great footage. So I stuck this GoPro device down my pants, which obviously enhances my credibility. Anyway, I managed to get through security. And I walk, as we all know, you walk past that amazing scoreboard as you come into the ground, and there's that big expanse. And I thought, right, well, I walked down to sort of Amen Corner, and actually, no, I stood at the back of 16. Is that the par 3? I forget off the top of my head.
Yeah.
But anyway, I get my GoPro out and just carry on filming, really blasé, like, oh, look at this, lads, I'm getting some great footage. Anyway, sure enough, a big black guy from Group 4 security taps me on the shoulder. He said, "Sir, is that a video camera?" At which point, one, I'm a Yorkshireman, so I thought, shit, they're going to have my camera. And secondly, I thought, oh, they're going to take the credentials away. And you know how thick Americans are. Sorry, Americans. No, I said, oh, no, it's not a camera, mate. It's me inhaler. Like that, I'm knacking anyway because it's downhill, and I got away with it, but I did want to quit after that.
But you did that inhaler after it's been down your trousers as well.
Mate,
Nice thought,
down my pants.
Yeah, exactly.
Listen, Sam, there's a question from John here, Sam. He said it's How hard is it to read a green at Augusta, in all truth? And have you ever got it really wrong?
It's not. You're not really going to get it wrong. It's just the amount that how much it will break, really. Like around there, it's more that than anything else. You're not really bamboozled at which way it's going to go. It's just the sheer velocity at how much it goes when it's. Because as the week goes on, they get quicker and quicker, which means they're going to break more and more, basically. So, and obviously a lot of the puts tend to break to the sort of same spots down there. The pins are in the similar spots. So when you've played there a few years, like Dan has done or whatever, they've got a good idea what it's doing. But you can never really prepare yourself for it's how much they break.
Yeah.
So, are they the hardest greens to read?
No, I don't think the hardest greens to read. You'll still go to places that have really, really severe grain that will be harder to read because
Asia.
Because it's
Asia.
in the lap of the gods. They're the purest surfaces, but they're just tricky putts. It's not they're not the hardest to read.
Okay. And a few questions come in each day now about people's backgrounds and we had Will Carling on the other day. He's got the most incredible bookcase. I like to see your zebra crossing artwork behind you there, Sam. That's unique, I have to say. What the hell's on it? Tell me you haven't paid money for that, Sam. Lads, what's the... a lot of people are asking, obviously, you've got your piece there, Muffy, behind you, which I'm surprised you haven't sold yet, but what's the most favourite memorabilia that you've got in your house or that you've stolen from a tournament or just show us around what you've got hung up on your walls?
You talking to me?
Yeah, well, this is a question to Sam and Muffy, yeah.
Well, I can
show you if you want. I can show you if you want. I've got that from Danny, but then I got him to personalise this after he won in 16, and it's there in writing where he says that I'll get to play it one day. So I'm going to hold him to that. He did put maybe after it, but then I've got one of Fitzy when he won his first tournament at the British Masters. So and that was me and Ted spraying him with champagne. I quite like that one because that was a nice ride to be on with Matt because he obviously turned pro and then got up to there, and he had like he bad luck. I'd always go on a Sunday if he was doing well, and he'd bomb out. I remember he was leading in an event in France, and so he told me he never wanted me to come back again on a Sunday. So that last round, I was hiding behind trees and all sorts, so he couldn't see me. But then and it was literally right at the end when I came on with the champagne, and me and Ted sprayed him. That's the first time he knew I was there. That was quite nice.
Brilliant. And a lady called Claire writes in and she said, "For Christ's sake, who cuts Team Willett's hair? She has offered 2 for a tenner if you want to take the money on that."
Well, in fairness, Claire, it's not that, isn't it?
We're going for top knots. We're going for the top knots, aren't we, Slammer?
Yeah, well, basically, I allowed my girlfriend to shave my sides, but she weren't touching anything on top. So that's what it's come down to.
Mate, I'm not being funny, Sam. If my missus had done my hair like yours, I'd have been divorced about it.
Well, to be fair, AJ, she wouldn't have a choice, would she? Because there's not a lot on top of there, is there?
Come on now.
I'll take it out and you can see which is better.
What about you, Howard? Who cuts your masterpiece?
Oh, mine costs such a lot of money to cut nowadays. Once you get past 60, it gets cheaper. It's been a few weeks now, and it's feeling long. It doesn't look long on here, but looks long by your standards, obviously.
Oh, come on,
yeah, I know. Well, it's easy, isn't it?
So it's pick on AJ time.
Thanks for coming on, lads. I'm bowing out. See you all later, fellas. Stay safe.
Yeah, mate.
Cheers, boys.
Howard, would you like Nicky cut your hair?
Yeah. Definitely.
Yeah,
Definitely. Oh yeah. Now I've got one. Have you got time for one more story about Augusta?
Yeah.
Yeah.
On,
Sam and Muffy might know about this, but my caddy one of my caddies, sorry, one of my many caddies, I'll just rephrase it, a guy called Bobby Millen. He caddied for me in the 87 Ryder Cup, but he used to run a business, and he worked with a company called Stroke Saver. And I think every golfer on tour will know that Stroke Saver did a lot of very good work with mapping out courses, yardages, distances, beautiful illustrations. And they were one of the original yardage bookmakers. Well, Bobby Millen was out at Augusta. He got the plans to go out at Augusta, and he mapped everything perfectly. He did all the drawings, everything absolutely to the scale, and so on. And he eventually got out one evening, and he got out late one evening at Augusta. And one of the security guys said, he says, make sure, Mr. Millen, that you're back here by 6:30 at the very latest, please, or whatever time it got dark or dusk. And he says, yeah, he says, no problem. Anyway, Bobby got a little bit coarse, intricate with this 12th hole because, as you boys know, the 12th hole is a killer. It can kill your game. It can make your game. The bite, as he called it, the bite from the edge of the bunker to the right edge is another 8 yards, to the further right, and all that type of thing. All different, very intricate details of this green. And he got onto the green, and he started mapping it out, and he couldn't believe the angles that all looked different. And as he got into the yardage book and everything, he started to think, oh, crikey, it must be, it's getting about 6:30, 6:40 it was. Or certainly after the time that he'd been told. And he went to go over the Hogan Bridge. Now, I think that's the left-hand bridge. Is that right, boys?
Yeah, I think so, yeah.
Yeah, I believe so.
He went to go over the Hogan Bridge, and he noticed there was something on the bridge. There was a couple of things. There were snakes, cut a long story short. There were water moccasins, which are probably one of the most poisonous snakes in Georgia. So he went across to go to the Hagen Bridge, I think, which crosses 13, just the other side of the 12th, where the tee is, and it's about the only private place that you can get as a golfer at Augusta. No crowds there. And he went across there, and he noticed there were a couple of snakes on there as well. Couldn't get anywhere over these bridges. There were 3 or 4 on the Hagen Bridge and at least a couple on the Hogan Bridge. And he had no idea what to do. The only other option was to go across the water. Well, that wasn't an option, obviously. And it was just getting to that time when the mosquitoes were coming out, if there were any muzzies around, and these snakes were really, really slithering towards him. Eventually, a security guy comes down. He says, Mr. Millen, didn't I tell you to get back for 6:30? He says, you know what time it is? He says, yeah. He says, I can't get over the bridge. Oh, he says, these suckers, he says, they're poisonous. He says, we'll get rid of them. And he took a rake out of one of the bunkers and just swept them back into the water. And off he went. But he said it was the scariest thing he'd ever witnessed, because there was no way out. Literally, I think there's a road behind the 12th green, isn't there?
Yeah.
Quite a main road. It's quite a long way around, but long way through the trees and so on. But there is a road there, but there's a big fence, and he couldn't get over the fence.
I think it backs onto Augusta Country Club.
Yeah,
actually. And I think they've just bought that land, haven't they, Eddie? Because we played it last year.
Yeah. They bought the land.
They just bought a section of land to extend the 13th tee, so it'll be different again when we get back.
Have they? Yeah. Have they really? Yeah. Wow.
Yeah, they have. Yeah.
That'll make it different. Yeah, so watch out for the snakes and ladders, boys.
Yeah, exactly.
We've got another couple of...
We know what to do.
Another couple of questions. I'm going to follow on from what I was saying earlier on. We always ask this question, which is to both of you. I'm going to go to Muffy first. Who would get you into trouble on a night out? Now, Muffy, your name's been mentioned twice on this, so it's now your turn to get somebody back.
My wife's just walked into the office here.
We can hear her laughing as well at that point.
Who Sherwood probably. Sam.
All right. Sam, I'm going to come to you now. Who's exactly the same question to you, mate? Who would get you into the most trouble on a night out?
Get me into the most trouble on a night out. Well, we have a select few people, but unfortunately, we have to sell Muffy that river as well, Louis.
So you're a band pair together.
Yeah, we can take it a little bit too far at times.
Yeah, we used when Sam and when Sam first started working for Dan, we used to have a lot of weekends off, so we didn't really have. When we were in America, we didn't really have much else to do other than drink. So
I think the problem with
we had a few
America
good
is
sessions.
the worst thing in the States is, so soccer Saturdays 3 o'clock in the UK, innit? Well, in America it's 11 a.m. So it's a long time to sort your soccer Saturday drinking session.
And then
There was a point. There was one time, Cuzzy, where we had the mobile phone up against an empty beer glass, watching the video printer on the Sky Sports app, I think it was, watching the goals going, because we were trying to. We'd had a few punts on some over 2.5s.
Can't beat soccer, so can't we? We're all missing football at the minute. We're all missing golf at the minute. Golf in particular, again, another question to both of you. What would be your golfing four-ball? Dead or alive, what would your four-ball be? Muffy, I'm going to go to you first.
Oh, me? Right, okay. Sevi. The big cat, Tiger, obviously. And then you'd have to put somebody in for a laugh, wouldn't you? I don't know. Ricky Gervais or something.
Here we go.
And Sam, for yourself, what would be your four-ball?
Yeah, it definitely would be Tiger. I'd have Johnny Drama off Entourage. And then who would the fourth one be? I'd probably throw in Dan.
There you go.
Clarky, I'm going to come to you as well. What would be your dream four-ball?
Oh, crikey. After watching Razor Ruddock yesterday, I think I'd have him caddying for me, definitely. Because he's now the ultimate hard guy. Because when I saw the picture of him actually knocking out Roy Keane, I'm sure that not me, only me that would like to have knocked out Roy Keane in the past. So Razor Ruddock would be my caddy. And I'd go a simple route of the best of all time, really. Hogan, Nicklaus, and probably Woods. Really would want to watch those three as close as you possibly could. I've watched a couple of them as close as I possibly could, but I never managed to see Hogan live, play live. He was enigmatic to say the least. And I would, you could stretch it a little further as well and go to some of the Europeans, but those three, I think, are the GOATs, aren't they?
Yeah, that's absolutely.
I think Mo Norman would have been interesting as well, actually. I think that would be quite interesting.
Mo Norman, yeah, I've still got videos on here of watching Mo Norman. Mo Norman was one player that if he walked onto a range at a tournament, all the players would stop hitting balls and go and watch him. Yeah, he was sensational.
Yeah, well.
Sensational.
Unbelievable. Hurd, just a very quick question. Do we know if our special guest is...
No, it looks like he slept in. I got a message just now saying he slept in. So that we're hoping to get Danny Willett on, but it's very early in the morning there, and sounds like he had a sleepless night with one of the kids, so he apologises. But he was trying to come on mainly just to abuse the two lads who work for him. And said nothing. But he wanted to do an Alan Sugar with his caddy, but not. Tell him to get some more dough in the bank for him. But there we go. No. I think we got Lawrence. Have we got Lawrence?
Just about to say, we've got Lawrence in the background somewhere, I think, who's been our sponsor for the Tiger Woods Open flag. I'm hoping he's in the background somewhere. Jake, have we got Lawrence coming on? So this flag basically is the 06 Open flag. It's signed by Tiger. He won that. We've obviously got, Hurdy's knows Lawrence. He's been a caddy out on the tour, South African guy. Really thank you, Lawrence, for putting this forward for us for the NHS. I know we've raised a decent amount of money for this as well. Lawrence, welcome. How are you doing? You okay down there?
Yeah, good, thank you.
Good.
Hey, Lawrence.
I understand, actually, you've got a very quick story about Danny as well, haven't you? From 2009?
Oh, I've got a delay here.
Okay.
Yeah.
Can you hear us?
I can hear you.
Like,
I've just got
like
a delay.
Long delay.
That's a big delay.
It's a big delay.
Let me try and log in again.
Okay, no problems. Otherwise, you're going to go out and come back in again.
Tell me when he's gone, because that shirt's fucking unbelievable, isn't it?
He's gone.
That is awesome.
I'll let you have a go at that one.
Has he got electric in his house? Jesus.
Howard, did you ever play on tour with Jagger, Pete Cowan's mate?
Jags.
I'm not sure. Who's Jagger?
No,
Jags
around Joe Keller. Jagger.
Oh, Jagger. Oh, Jagger.
Yeah,
God, Jagger was amazing. The most amazing stories came out with Jagger. That's what?
He's got some of the best ones ever they've ever heard.
Oh, frightening. I've got some stories I can't repeat on here, which is some of the stories. But I love the way that Jagger got Philip Morby introduced into caddying. And he said he had to go through a test because Morby was at the door waiting for, to try and get on as a caddy. And what Jagger did was he put a piece of breeze block in the bottom of his bag. Just to say, he says, he got out, he says, on the bag after 9 hours, say, how are you doing, Wobbly? He says, not so bad, but this bloody bag's heavy. He says, God, it's so heavy. He says, well, it's all right. He says, you'll get used to it after 18. And after 18, he says, wow. He says, you've done well. He says, with that. He says, yeah. He says, but I can't believe my shoulder's killing me. He says, I really need to do something about that. And he says, right. He says, well, would he just get my waterproofs out of the bag? And he opened the bag up and he took the waterproofs out, and there was a breeze block in the bottom of it. And words were exchanged.
The one story that I've got told that I think was brilliant was they went out early on it was like the final round somewhere, and he was in a 2-ball with another player obviously, and they've gone out early, and this guy is basically pitching up to a green, but he can't see the flag, he can't see the green, so it's all below him. So he's hit his shot in, and he's holed it. And in the time he's done that, Jags has walked up, picked the ball out of the hole, put it next to the hole. He said, "Good shot." So the guys come up, and he's marked the ball, picked the ball up, given it to his caddy or whatever, and then Jags has holed out, and then he's walked up to him, he's picked his marker up, he's gone, give him a wink, he said, "Don't worry, I'll give you that one." And he said, "What are you doing?"
Brilliant.
Don't worry, I'll hold it. Don't worry.
Fantastic. Lawrence, we can see you now. I think I'm hoping the delay's gone a little bit. Welcome, Lawrence. Thank you very much for donating this flag. It's been fantastic. I know we've raised a decent amount of money for it as well for the NHS, which is what we're here for. You've got a small little story, I think, from 2009 when you were on the caddying world as well, I think.
Yeah, I think it was when Danny first came onto the European tour, and he played in the Joburg Open in South Africa, and he didn't have his full card, so he couldn't get into all of the events at that stage. But he finished 10th or top 10 that week, which got him into the following week in Abu Dhabi, and obviously all the players stayed in the Emirates Palace Hotel, which is an amazing hotel, as you guys probably know. Anyway, and they were running shuttle buses from the course on Sunday afternoon from the course to the airport. And I hopped into one of the shuttle buses, and Danny got in as well. And he got onto the phone. I think he phoned his mom or his dad and started talking to them. But he was like a kid that had been given free reign of a sweet shop. That's how excited he was, because all he could talk about was that he had this free room in this hotel at the Emirates Palace. And all the way, like half an hour from the course to the airport, that's all he could talk about was staying in he'd obviously heard about it and the things in there and all that. And I've been fortunate to stay there one year as well. It is quite amazing, although the Pringles in the room are pretty expensive. It's like 12 quid for a half a freaking Pringles, half a box.
He's got a good story himself from staying there. His now wife, Nicole, I think he took her there for one of the first events. And she was obviously in the room one day, and they get a butler. It's like a 7-star hotel. and they obviously get a butler, and he'd come from the week before, and Nicole thought it'd be a nice thing to give the butler the washing to do. So she literally put all his laundry in dry cleaning at the 7-star hotel. And the bill, he said the bill was colossal.
I can imagine.
All his pants were like rolled up and in a little packet, every individual one. It cost him fortunes. But because it was the first trip away, I don't think he had the heart to really tell her how much it was. He just sucked it up and paid the bill.
If I remember correctly, the little box of Pringles was about 10 quid. It was just stupid.
Yeah, it will be.
Yeah,
obscene.
Absolutely fantastic. Lawrence, thank you again for donating the flag. Hurdy, do you know if we picked the winner, Hurdy, or is the winner going on to the? I'm going to let you go from this.
Lawrence has kindly done a bucket with all the names every day when people donated. They put the name up. I believe Lawrence, you've got it all in front of you, haven't you, mate?
Yeah.
Do you want to pick one there, Lawrence? That'd be if you want to pick one out there, mate. That'd be absolutely fantastic.
Well, I've asked, if you guys don't mind, I've asked my wife to come and help me. This is my wife, Veronica.
Hi, how are you guys?
Hi, Veronica. No problems whatsoever.
I'll give it a bit of a shake.
There you go.
And she can delve in there and pick a name.
Okay.
Live. Pressure.
Sven Londell.
Oh, Sven. It's my buddy Sven Londell.
Oh, here we go. I can't believe it's fixed.
It's an inside job.
I'll show you.
300 Sven Londell.
Awesome. Well done, Sven.
Actually,
I spent a favour, so I'm glad he got it.
Fantastic. Well, all we can say is thank you again, Lawrence, for putting that forward for us. Like to thank everybody who's put the £10 into the entry for this as well out there. I'm sure next week we'll have something maybe different again. And the flag's there. We can see it on the bottom. We'll have something next week, I'm guessing, Erdy.
Lawrence, just tell him. Yeah, just tell him what we've got. Go on, sorry, go on, mate.
Go on, Muffy.
Because I was just going to say, for next week, I'll donate a signed, framed 2017 Sergio Garcia Masters flag. So that can be a gift for next week.
Fantastic, Muffy. Thank you very much. Top man, mate. We'll keep the NHS stuff going. We try and raise as much money as we can through this. We love doing it. It's a good laugh. First things first, boys. We're going to round it up here. Muffy and Sam, Howard, obviously Erdy as well as always. Thank you guys for coming in and joining us for the hour. It's always great fun catching up with you guys. Absolutely fantastic, guys. Great stories. Loved it. Again, we'll be back on Monday with the SGH Sports events. Again, Erdy will announce who we've got coming in Monday next week. Over the weekend, so that will be out for us. Thanks to our streaming providers as well with Simply Video. They've been fantastic this week. They've really looked after us. Hopefully next week we'll have Linny back as well, because Linny's got KC communications, which literally isn't communicating to anybody. Literally, it's absolutely useless. It is the road to nowhere out there in Hull. Hopefully we'll get that all sorted. I know the guys at Simply Video are helping him out with a load of stuff from there. Again, thank you, Lawrence, for donating that. Muffy, thank you very much for donating that for next week. Love it. And guys, as always, have a great weekend. Hope you're all well. Cheers. Keep safe, and we'll see you again on next week.
Cheers, boys. Cheers, Sam. Muffy.
Cheers,
Cheers, Cuz. Bye.